Hello and welcome, you guys. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Devyn. This is my channel. Here I talk about 60s and 70s fashion, makeup, rock and roll, whatever really comes to mind, So here we are. Thanks for being here. Happy you made it. Today I'm just going to be doing a little Q&A type video. So I'd asked you guys to shoot me over some questions on one of my Instagram posts, just so we could get a little more acquainted. We could get to know each other a little bit more. We'll just start off here. I tried to make sure that I wasn't going to answer the same question twice, or I tried to also make sure that I wasn't going to miss anybody, so sorry if I did. My first question I have here is from Abby Merson, and she says, if you had a chance to travel back to the 60s or 70s, who would be the first person you would want to meet, and why? I think I would probably choose Patty Boyd, just because not only was she in the fashion industry, which I'm super interested in, but she also was a huge influence on the rock and roll scene, which I obviously love music, so she's kind of just hits best of both worlds for me there. Alright, now this one is from Groovy Uncle Funk. Hello. He says, how do you know Uncle Funk? When did you guys meet in the 70s? So, let's see, how did I meet Uncle Funk? Oh yes, I do remember. It was backstage during the Love It to Death tour for Alice Cooper. I think it was 1971, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, he was standing over, just watching the crowd shuffle in. He was in this amazing rhinestone suit. I was just totally taken back by his amazing appearance. And he came over, introduced himself, and the rest is history. Seriously though, you guys, he's hilarious. You should check him out. Next, we've got one from Bionic Toucan. You said, where would you suggest shopping for someone who's broke but getting into 60s and 70s fashion? And thrift stores. Thrifting is the best. Thrifting's the best for anything. Like, even if you have money, you should just go thrifting. One, because it's much better for the environment, and it's way cheaper, and it's way more fun. You can usually find more original pieces, and sometimes you even score actual vintage there, which is always a great day. Next we've got from Houndstooth Bruises. Do you dress vintage all the time? What are your comfy stay-at-home clothes like? And how do you stay in your style even if you wouldn't have time or the desire to get super dressed up? So, number one, let's see, do I dress vintage all the time? Absolutely not. It's all very vintage inspired, and that's usually just because that's the kind of clothes that I own, but I definitely do not dress like accurate all the time, especially if I'm staying at home. If I stay at home, I'm usually in a t-shirt, like a giant t-shirt, little kid style, how you sleep in your dad's shirt. I still wear my dad's shirts around, but otherwise I'm in like leggings and maybe a turtleneck or something. If I'm at home, I keep it really comfy unless I'm actually filming or taking a picture, and then those are my reasons to get dressed up if I'm at home, but otherwise, just usually chill. What items are essentials in a 60s and 70s style wardrobe in your opinion? And let's see, I think that the great thing really about vintage is that you don't really have to have any specific thing to have this style, because vintage is such like a broad term. There's so many different subcultures and different styles within, like, even just the 60s alone. You don't really need, like, a single staple, but I would say a good pair of flared jeans. It's a really good staple. You could dress it up or dress it down, but I don't think you, need to have anything to have a vintage wardrobe. It all depends on what style you're going. And there's so many different items, there's so many different ways you could take it, so it all just depends on preference. And that one was from Jasna Maria. Sorry again if I'm saying these wrong, nobody hate me. So the next one is from Becca. She says, do you have any advice or tips for starting to dress vintage? Well, Becca, I would probably say thrift, look at a lot of vintage pictures, watch some vintage movies, take notes or at least some mental notes of what you see, what you like, what you don't like, and just keep those styles in mind when you go thrifting or when you go to a store. And I think you're going to be surprised at how many items you find that could actually look vintage, especially if you style it correctly. Sorry if you guys can hear this in the background. My videos are probably never gonna be quiet in the background because I live with a musician and they're working on some music in there. Shelby Ransom says, could you explain your job/work a little more in depth? When did you start and what exactly do you do? So, this is always fun to try to explain, I guess. I would say I started doing what I do pretty much right out of high school. Did it start paying off as a job right out of high school? No. Is it really paying off as a job right now? Like, not exactly. I have to do a bunch of things really for my job because I don't really want like a 9-to-5 or that kind of a situation. I did it for a little bit and every single day at lunch I wanted to run away, and it wasn't the place that I was working because that was amazing. It wasn't the people because they were amazing. It's literally just who I am. I'm a Sagittarius. I need to be free. I need to have freedom. What I do is just a bunch of random freelancing jobs. I've acquired and tried to learn skills, I don't know, that I can just spread out and use in different ways to make money. Number one, I guess the most like stable thing that I do is work for Groupie, which is a fashion company in LA. Right now we're currently working on something top secret, so I can't really talk too much about that, but there's something in the works and I do their social media. I run their Instagram. It's always me posting on there. And then I also do some freelance modeling. I get some brand deals for Instagram once in a while, but I don't really do too much of that. You know, it's kind of hard to do that when you are just like a smaller, dare I say, influencer. I don't really want to say that, but I guess that would be the term. It's just like ad space, you know, pretty much. But I don't want to take something if I don't like it, or if I'm not like, wow, I really am excited to like share this item, because I feel like the people that I've built up a relationship with over on Instagram, and I feel close to those people, so I don't want to just be like spitting out random things to them and they'll be like, what the heck is this? If I like something, I'll definitely share it, but otherwise, no. What else do I do? I worked at a vintage store for a little bit. I kind of did that over the summer and that recently just ended, so it's very recent that I'm actually just kind of freely roaming, absolutely, but the vintage shop was pretty free as well. They're really good about being flexible with the schedule and everything, so I loved working there, and I would work at another vintage shop, especially if it was with them, in a heartbeat. They were great. But so in short, that's kind of what I do. What is your definition of a groupie? I thought I knew what it was until I watched your videos, but now I'm not sure. I love your videos and aesthetic, by the way. Thanks, girl. That was from Verona. I hope I'm pronouncing that right again. This is so funny because everybody always wants to know this and people always try to like think about this, I don't know. But it's really just not that deep. It's just somebody who likes something a lot. Literally, that's all it is. You love something, you are passionate about it, you want to be around it all the time. If it's the music, if it's the band, you know, you just want to be there and you love it and you're willing to put yourself aside to help either the band or the music or whatever. Like, you go and you help them pack up gear, you make them food, all that kinds of stuff. I don't know. That's what it means to me anyways. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it means that you have relations with these musicians, and I mean, if people end up doing that, that's their own business and it doesn't really have anything to do with the word, because if you're around these people and you're like friends and you usually, I don't know, end up liking people that you're friends with on a more serious level, so that just seems natural to me, but what do I know? Okay. Used yellow rubber duck. Interesting. How to make friends with the same passion for vintage as you. And actually, I pretty much found all of my friends that like the same thing, like are really passionate about it, through Instagram. It's amazing. I remember finding this community when I was going into sophomore year. It was right when I fell in love with the Beatles too. And I just found this community of girls who were just kind of cool and like, oh my gosh, I was totally in love. I was just like, what? These people like the same things as me. I can't believe it. And it was really amazing because I grew up in such a small town. I was just totally shocked. I thought that I was some weirdo, but then all of a sudden all these other people were around and they like the same things. Life changing. This is from Moss of Earth. Did you always feel comfortable dressing the way you do because it's more bold than most people's outfit choices? I don't think I've always been quite as like loud about it through my fashion as much. And I definitely was like self-conscious about it through high school and school. I still didn't really care that much because, like I said, I went to a really small school. Literally there was 20 people in my graduating class, so you all just kind of had to deal with each other no matter what. That was kind of cool about my school. Everybody just kind of, I don't know, for the most part was chill with everybody, but that's because you had to be, because you were stuck with these people. I loved it, and yeah, so no, not really too much. Like, of course, people make remarks and sometimes joke, but to be honest, I just really do not care at the core. Like, at first it might like make me like, oh my gosh, but then when I really think about it, it's like, why do I care, honestly? Okay, now we have one from Jessica Aluna. What is your favorite film of all time? And it is definitely Phantom of the Opera. I fell in love with Phantom of the Opera in 3rd grade when my grandma showed it to me, and this grandma, she loves the opera. She used to always take me to the opera, and she showed me Phantom of the Opera. I fell in love with it. I made my friends watch it. They fell in love with it, and we used to like reenact the scenes at recess, and we'd like go out to this drain. I remember in the middle of the field, and we were like, the Phantom of the Opera lives in that drain, and I don't know, we were weird kids, but that movie's freaking good, and I love it. The Phantom was definitely like my first crush. Okay, now we have one from Harper Kelly Ladd, and she says, what is your hair, nail, styling / care routine? I don't really do anything for my nails. I like to file them down into this kind of a shape when they grow out, just so that they have some kind of a shape, and I like to keep them long, but I don't really do anything to care for them, I guess. I don't like painting them. As I say that, I'm going to get my nails done next weekend, but that's totally different because this nail artist girl, she is amazing, okay? I'm just gonna pop her name somewhere up on here, and you guys should go follow her because I'm so freaking shook. And honestly, her prices are not even bad for like the art that she's putting on your nails. So I'm stoked. Olivia paid for me to go get my nails done for my birthday from her, and I'm finally going to do it. So I'm excited. But anyways, I just try not to paint them because I noticed that when I do paint them, it takes forever for them to actually get healthy again. Like, they snap off pretty much right away. And if that's not a sign of what nail polish does to you, I don't know. But so I just try to keep them natural usually. My hair care routine, I don't really do anything either. I take a shower like every other day or so. I am a filthy animal. I try to not diet, really. I just got it dyed a little bit ago, but that was the first time in over a year, and I'm trying not to dye it anymore. That's why I just had her do kind of like this ombre situation to make my old blonde hair mix in better. So it's more of just like a highlight situation, and it goes down easily, so I don't have to dye my hair anymore. That's the ultimate goal. Otherwise, I don't brush it when it's wet. I heard that that's bad for it, and I kind of feel like it is. Like, I always feel like it's really just pulling and like, I don't know, it doesn't feel good when I'm doing it, so I try not to do that. I try not to use heat on it all the time. If I blow dry my hair, I usually just only blow dry my bangs, and then sometimes I put coconut oil in the ends before I get in the shower, and I like sit around for 30 minutes. That'll be if I put on a face mask too. Usually I put on like a hair mask. These hair masks, which I literally just got at Walmart, but I like them a lot. Favorite TV show from Anna.YouKnow. Well, I don't really watch TV. Andrew and I don't have cable or anything like that. We watch Netflix and YouTube. Let me see. Probably if I had to pick a show, I really like that 70s show. Obviously, that's such a classic. Good feelings, good vibes. Also, I love Impractical Jokers because I think that they are hilarious. Okay, well, now we have one from Rococo Rosie. How and what inspired you to start dressing specifically 60s and 70s vintage? Well, that would be the Beatles. And she also says, what was your style like before? I'll probably try to find some photos, but I pretty much dressed like pretty basic. We'll just give a little backstory of me here. So I'm originally from northwestern Wisconsin. As I was going into 7th grade, my family moved to Branson, Missouri, and I lived there for 3 years. Then the summer right before my sophomore year of high school, we moved back to Wisconsin, but I went to a different school. So before we moved to Missouri first, I was more into style, but it was more just kind of pretty mainstream. I had 2 older sisters, and I was trying to be as cool as they were in their Hollister and American Eagle and Ugg boots. So I definitely did that. And then once I moved to Missouri, I definitely tried to be more of like a sportier girl at that time. I got into track and cross country and softball and just kind of wore what I'd wear to practice most of the days to school, or jeans. Like Miss Me jeans were such a big thing, oh my gosh. And then once I got into the Beatles and I started looking at pictures of their girlfriends and wives, I was like, wow, this is how I want to be. And so then we moved back to Wisconsin, and I was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. You know, I'm moving to a new school, time to be whoever I want to be, and I decided to be me, so here we are. And then she also says, do you like any modern music? If so, what musicians and bands? I just found your channel today, so I apologize if you've already been asked these before. I love your content, by the way. Thanks, girl, you are awesome. I do like some modern music. Off the top of my head, I love the Lemon Twigs, they are so cool, and I love Lucille Furs, which is like a modern band around here in Chicago. Well, part of them are in Chicago, part of them are in LA now, which is sad, but you know, good for them. And then, let's see, who else? Obviously my boyfriend's band, Abley House. I also love the Blackfoot Gypsies, which is a band from Nashville, and they're cool. They have like Rolling Stones kind of rock and roll country vibes, and they're just so nice too. So I love all of their music. I also have a couple other bands probably, but off the top of my head, those are the main ones that I listen to. The Jocelinator, sick name. How do you and your boyfriend look like the modern version of Patty Boyd and Mick Jagger? That's really funny and cute. When did you first feel drawn to the 60s? And then there's more, but to answer this, I first felt drawn to the 60s, it was probably when I first got into the Beatles too, and that was when it's a really stupid story, but I was a freshman, and the boy that I liked at the time was a sophomore, and it was around prom time, and at my school in Branson, you could only go to the prom if you were an upperclassman or you were asked by an upperclassman, so that's a junior or senior, of course. He gets asked by the senior girl, and we were kind of talking, we were like going on dates and stuff, and he was like, I'm gonna go to prom with this girl, and I was like, excuse me, like, what? And he was like, yeah, like, it's fine, it shouldn't be a problem. I was like, what am I gonna do? Go take prom pictures of you guys? No. So anyways, I was kind of sad and upset, and my other friend, Caleb, messaged me, and he was like, hey, June, and I was like, what's that mean? I was like, did you text the wrong person? He was like, no, it's that Beatles song. And I hadn't really listened to the Beatles ever, and my parents weren't into it or anything. My dad was born in 73 and my mom was born in 68, so that's not really their time period. Anyways, I looked it up and I was like, I cannot find this dang song anywhere. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, Jude, I see. So I listened to it and I just totally fell in love with it. And that's pretty much when I fell in love with the 60s. So do you ever feel like wearing a different era on a different day depending on your mood? And what's your favorite vintage item you've ever found? So, I definitely do. You know, I don't feel like you should restrict yourself. Some days, I even like some like 90s looks because I love 90s as 60s because it's just like super funky and groovy looking. So, you know, I feel like whatever you feel like wearing, just wear it. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't stick to one time period because you're like, oh, I'm only 60s. If that makes you happy, like truly, do that. You don't have to, you know, spread yourself out if you don't want to, but don't be like, oh, I can't wear that because it's not from this time period. Because if it makes you happy, just do it. And what is your favorite vintage item you've ever found? So I'm just gonna go grab them really quick because there's a pair of shoes in there, right over there. These shoes, I love them so much, and I can't wait till I have money to actually get them properly fixed. As you can see, I wore them pretty much every single day for a year because they matched everything, and I was like, these are the perfect 60s shoes. I love the inside, it's like psychedelic. I found them on Etsy and they were a pretty penny, but I got them dead stock, so they were not worn, and I did all of this. That was me. I totally trashed these. Dream job! My dream job would probably be, I probably have a lot. I really hope to be a radio DJ for SiriusXM. I would love that. That is like the coolest, and I feel like they have the coolest radio DJs, especially Little Steven's Underground Garage. Everybody on there just sounds so cool, and they know all the coolest music, and I just like aspire to be that, but I have to get a lot cooler, so we got some growing to do. Good thing that's for when I'm older. Otherwise, right now, I really like what I'm doing. I just hope that it continues, and who knows, you know, I just feel like I have no idea where life's gonna take me. Stacy Fox says, how did you get listening to the Beatles? I already answered that in the previous question, but it was because that one friend of mine, Caleb, messaged me, Hey June, even though the song is Hey Jude. But yeah, he pretty much got me into the Beatles, I guess, so thanks, Caleb. Did your vintage wardrobe just sort of slowly grow, or did it take a first big haul or two to get it going? Did you phase out of the normal clothes gradually, or did it involve a big purge? And this is actually kind of a funny story. It kind of started as like a pretty big purge, but not purposefully. So the story with this is just gonna be a long video, so I hope everybody's got a snack, you know. If you haven't gotten one, just pause it now, go get yourself something to drink, take a bathroom break, because I feel like I have a lot of questions left. So anyways, did it take a big purge? It was not necessary at all, but it just sort of happened like that. So, as I said, me and my family were living in Branson, Missouri at the time, and my two older sisters still lived in Wisconsin, and we owned this house, but my sister was renting the house from my parents. We were going up, and we had an RV that we had, I think, traded a boat in or a truck in for or something. I cannot remember, to be honest. But we had this RV, and it was not like a new fancy RV. It was like a sketchy old RV. We pretty much just pack all of our stuff into this RV because we were going for a week or so. We were like, yeah, we can take as much as we want. Like, we have an RV. Let's just pack this thing full. So I had just gotten my first job that summer as well. I was working, I was saving up money, and since we were going on a vacation back home to Wisconsin, I went on a shopping spree, bought a bunch of stuff. I was like, lit, we got some new Sperry's. I had all that kind of stuff. I loved Sperry's. We were going up, and first red flag about this trip is the RV has no AC, and it is the middle of the summer in Branson, Missouri, when it is like 100+ degrees outside with humidity of like 100,000%. It's insane. So we were going to Wisconsin, it was really hot, and we're on the highway, we freaking blow a tire. We have to go to this random place, and it's like the sketchiest people around. Honestly, we had no idea where we were. We thought we were in like cannibal freaking territory, but we got the tire fixed. We're going. We finally get to Minnesota, and we're in Burnsville, Minnesota. We're like, oh, we'll just pull off here because there's this bakery that my mom likes. We'll sleep in this parking lot at this Walmart parking lot. They allow you to do that. Tip if you need to sleep in your car. So we were just gonna pull off into this parking lot for Walmart, sleep there, go to the bakery in the morning, and we'd be home in like an hour and a half then from where we live in Wisconsin to where we were in Minnesota. And so we're all just kind of getting settled in for the night. I'm on the bunk. I remember I'm listening to Octopus's Garden. We're all just in our pajamas, settling down. My dad switches on the generator, and all of a sudden we're like looking around. It looks kind of like smoky in there. My mom's like, Jeremy, something's smoking. Jeremy's my dad, and he's like, no. He's like, no, that's just the dust that's blowing out because the generator hasn't been turned on for a while. And we're all like, okay. Sure enough, my mom flings open, I'm pretty sure it was my mom, she flings open the door, and there's flames in there, and we're all like, what the heck? And mind you, it wasn't just me, my mom, and my dad, it was also my brother Christian, who's 13 months younger than me, so he was not really young or anything, but then my little sister Freya, who had to be 5 at the time, that means my little brother was 3, and we had our dog Ginger in there, so we're all like, holy crap, this place is on fire, like the closet in there is on fire. So everybody's like freaking out. I am the only one who apparently can react in these kind of situations, so I'm like, everybody needs to get out of the RV. I'm pushing everybody out. Our dog takes off and just runs away. Ginger's like gone. She just leaves us. My dad's trying to grab like the important stuff out of the RV and just throw it out. We didn't have shoes, we didn't have anything. I had my phone and I was calling 911 to get an ambulance ambulance. I was calling my friend Stephanie. I was bawling. We're cutting our losses. Christian and I, my brother who's just 13 months younger than I am, we decided to go walk into the Walmart and I think we were trying to get water just because we were thirsty. My dad probably gave us money. And the Walmart employees are like, how come you guys don't have any shoes on? We're like, you see that RV out there? Yeah, that's ours. That's our family. And so they gave us cookies, they gave us some free Gatorade. They were super nice. And we sat there, we called some of our friends who lived kind of close to where we were in Minnesota, and they came and picked us up, and my sister came too, and we drove us back to Wisconsin. I think that the firefighters had pulled out anything that they could out of the RV that looked possibly salvageable, but it was all pretty much just in plastic bags when it arrived to our house there, and we opened up the bags. Everything just smelled horrible, like smoke. It was beyond repair. So in short, there was a big purge, and my cousin ended up giving me a bunch of clothes which had my first kind of 60s inspired shoes in it. I'll have to put up a picture of those. There was a big purge, but not like I was trying to, and I didn't really acquire all of those clothes back right away either because we didn't have the money for that. It was just more of like rebuilding over time what I had lost. Next is from Miss Miriam. She says, what's your "Oh my gosh, that blew my mind" album that really got you into classic rock, Loss of Love? And it was probably, I don't know if it was like an album that like first got me into classic rock that was just like random songs from the Beatles all over the place. The album that really like totally blew my mind first was probably Rubber Soul. That's just like my favorite album though. Next we have from Claire Dooley, favorite places to shop in Chicago, and I love going to the Salvation Armies. I love Unique Thrift and Village Discounts, also awesome. Hopscotch and Soda's a great vintage shop. Also, Very Best Vintage is the very best. That is where I used to work. That's in Pilsen. Okay, this is from Maria Lively. This is quite the question. Do you think as an artistic and multi-dimensional personality that you have, that it is possible to have a certain lifestyle for all the rest? I am not questioning or doubting you at all. It is something that I find myself struggling with, strolling around different styles from time to time, all based on music, but I can go from biker style to more goth and back to 60s and 70s through periods of my life. The common thing is that it's always about rock and roll. I just find it difficult to stay in one concept, no matter how much I love it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you, love. And I think that it's really hard for me to stay in if I was trying to pick like mod. If I was like, you can only dress in mod fashion, that would just be too much for me because I love like more of a boho style. I like more of like a rocker style, like glam rock. Andrew's here.
I ruin the video every time.
I like all kinds of different stuff. Psychedelic, you name it. I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It would just seem really frustrating to me if I had to pick one thing and just try to stick to that. Now we have one from Chelsea Kate, 1999. Do you find that you tend to gravitate towards more a 60s and 70s way of life as well as just partaking in fashion and music of that era? Actually, I don't think that I do at all because I'm so into technology. It's just not like a true 60s or 70s way of life at all. Like maybe there's certain things that seem like it, and that with Andrew too, just since his profession's like a musician, I guess people would say that seems more vintage or retro, but honestly, I don't think so because there's so many like modern things that I enjoy, like social media. I'm sitting here filming myself right now. Now, from Sophie Loves George. Do you like rock bands like Queen, Led Zeppelin, etc.? Yes. Lauren Grace Daniels. Do you watch That Girl? One of my favorites since childhood. Makes me sad that no one knows what it is. And I don't watch it actually, but I do know what it is. Somebody once told me that I reminded them of her, so I checked it out and I was like, oh, that's cute, super nice, thanks dude. So I should watch it. Cycle Lilies says, do you have a favorite vintage band or favorite style icon other than Patty Boyd? And brand, I think I'd probably have to go with Biba just because that is so iconic and I love the fact that they did makeup and fashion. And also like a favorite icon other than Patty Boyd, I have so many, like all of the women of that time had super cool fashion and brought different things to the table as far as that goes, I feel like. So Twiggy and Cher and Jane Birkin, Marianne Faithfull, the list goes on. Pink and White F. Why is George your favorite Beatle? I like George because I like his smile the best, I love guitars, and I like his spiritual side. And who is my favorite fashion icon of nowadays? This is hard. I don't really know if I have one. I think that there's obviously lots of iconic women in fashion, but did I really pull fashion from anybody in the modern times? Not really. I guess Alexa Chung. She's really cute and she seems really funny. So Lizard.Queen 567. If you could bring one dead celebrity back to life, who would it be? And so hard. Probably George. I mean, you can't really go wrong. Savannah Addison, top 5 60s albums. And let's see, the first two are Beatles ones, but that's because they're back to back kind of. Number 1 is Rubber Soul. Number 2 is Revolver, but that's only because they're neck and neck. You know, this is really hard to choose because there's so many different albums and so many bands that I love. Then we've got the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan classic, The Soft Parade from The Doors, and finally Willie and the Poor Boys from Creedence Clearwater Revival. Also Odyssey and Oracle's up there, but it's hard to choose, okay? So used Yellow Rubber Duck. Even though you're heavily influenced by mostly the 60s and 70s, are there any other prior/recent decades that influence you? If so, are there specific people from that era that stick out as influential, and what do you think of Lana Del Rey's style? I don't really know too much about Lana Del Rey. I've listened to her music a little bit, and it's really not my thing. Her style's really cute, though, so, I think she's cute from what I've seen. And then, as far as, other decades that influenced my style, I definitely love the 20s. The 20s are really cool, and also the 17th and 18th century. All throughout there, I love the big, poofy, and, super intricate, elaborate designs and patterns, obviously more that nobility would wear, but that's really cool, and I love big collars and everything. So Donna Lena says, what is your favorite quote? And it's been said many times in many ways, love one another, and also by many people. Badfinger JPEG says, do you think you'll ever go back to dressing in contemporary clothes, and why? I really don't think so. I mean, if I want to someday, I guess that I do, but if I could guess, probably not. I just really love past fashion and history of fashion. So Chaplin Phantom says, favorite remade vintage clothing shop? And it's gotta be Miracle Eye. They do the best, I feel for 60s, actual 60s looking clothes. They have got it down, and, they might be investment pieces, but I feel that's any brand that's actually nice and does, good things for the environment and making clothes sustainably and ethically. And her story is amazing. She was able to have her mom work for her and her aunt, and you should just go check them out. I know they have a video up somewhere. I did watch one. It was a while ago, but where Larissa's talking about the story behind the company, and I just love her passion for it, and you can really tell that she loves what she's doing, so that's amazing to me. And it shows through with her work, honestly. If you hold the pieces and you look at them, you just know that she really loves what she's doing, and she cares about it too. Susanna Bardis says, do people come up to you on the street and ask about your outfit or the clothes you're wearing? Or do people often laugh at you? How do people react to your style? I know that in the US it's not unusual, but in Europe very often people look at you like you're an alien. You might turn heads, but it's pretty rare that people say something rude to me, actually, or give me a dirty look. But I think it's funny when they do, because it's seriously, my outfit really upsets you that much, I'm sorry. I'm pretty lost when it comes to 60s and 70s sunglasses. Do you have any recommendations for that to look for in shape, color, and material? I usually just look at thrift stores. It's pretty much what I always do. Sometimes on Etsy you can find them, but I always feel like Etsy's just kind of expensive. Typically, you can set your price range on there, and that's always what I do when I'm searching for something. That's just a little tip. In the filter section, go set your price range. that helps a lot. But bigger glasses were really big, literally. But round glasses. Also small glasses were in, like small little round ones, or like squares were super cool. Could you maybe talk a while about the punk music you listened to and how you got into it, etc.? So I would say my dad probably, like just being his daughter kind of got me into this, because even though I wouldn't necessarily call him a punk, he was definitely a biker back in the day and listened to more like rock and stuff like that. This is a long story too. I went through a breakup, and anyways, I was just kind of like pissed off for a while, and I feel like that's the kind of music to listen to if you're pissed off for a while. That was also when I dyed my hair black. It was when I got into the Ramones, and I don't know how I got into them, but I just like loved them, and I started listening to more like 60s and 70s garage, and that kind of led me into punk. So I wouldn't say that I know like too much, or I'm like an expert or anything. Where did you find your mod tights? So mostly I find my tights at Target, and as I've been going there more, I see they have less and less of a selection, so I'm getting kind of worried. What life advice do you have for us all? Also, love your videos so much. Thank you, Sarah. My life advice is probably just to really think about this for a little bit, but don't think about it for too long, because it's kind of freaky, because this is your life and you're here for right now, and even though it might seem like you have a million days, and you know, we are here for a long time. A lot of us, knock on wood, you know? But also, this is your life, so think about that, and just think about how you're living it, and think about if this is how you really want to be living it, and if it's not, start making the changes like little by little to be living the life that you want to live, because this is it, baby. This is it. So, what was the first concert you've ever been to, on a little less serious note? My first concert, I guess, and I also love you. Hi, Miss Hannah Rose. My first concert, I suppose, I don't remember this, but my parents say that they took me to a Fleetwood Mac concert and they sat me on my dad's shoulders, but I was too little to remember, so does it count? I'm not really sure. My first concert that I do remember, though, was amazing. It was Alice Cooper, and we were like 5 rows from the front, and I had no idea that I had bought tickets that were that close, because my tickets were like $50. I went with my friend Cassie and my boyfriend at the time. He puts on such a good show too. Like, that's probably my favorite show that I've been to, is an Alice Cooper show. I've seen him twice, and hopefully I'm going to see him when he comes to Chicago again. He didn't play like super big theaters too, which was nice because it's more intimate, and it's just not as expensive if you want to be like close and within actual viewing proximity of the stage, which is very nice, especially for somebody who's like a classic rock, you know, legend. How do you find inspiration? From Almost Belle. I don't really know. I just feel inspired when I feel inspired. I try to write down notes, so when I'm not feeling inspired, I have those things to look back on, like ideas, and so I'll write it down either on notes in my phone, which I do a lot of, or my journal, of course, or if I just have like paper around, I'll write it on paper and stick it in pockets, and a lot of times I'll be wearing a jacket or a pair of pants and I feel in the pockets, and I have like random pieces of paper with weird messages. And I would say that I find inspiration like when I'm listening to music. That really inspires me usually. Being in nature is very inspiring for me. I like to drive in my car and listen to music. Something in the way she moves. What's the most wonderful place you've ever been to? Oh my gosh, so hard. So many wonderful places. I would probably say I really, really loved the Netherlands. Like, just being out of the United States was magical. So I loved this little town. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a little fishing town. Oh my gosh, it was Dordrecht. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm so sorry to all of the Dutch people out there. But I'm looking at it on the map here, and hopefully you can see right here. That was like my favorite town because it was just adorable, and I loved the nautical vibes. Also, Duluth, which is in Minnesota. It's on Lake Superior, which is one of the Great Lakes, and it's actually where Bob Dylan's originally from. Julia says, have you ever tried to play an instrument? And yes, actually, I used to be an alto saxophone player in 5th grade. Yes, can you believe it? I was first chair. Oh my gosh, no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I did play for like totally 1 year and I was first chair, not to brag or anything. I'm pretty much like a pro, but I've tried to play the guitar a couple times, nothing too serious, just like me trying to teach myself, but then my fingers end up hurting really bad, and I also love having long nails. I also used to keep a harmonica in my car all the time, and I drive a lot, so I would just like sit in my car with the harmonica and like play it. Favorite pair of boots, and my favorite pair of boots, let's just grab those really quick, which I found at a yard sale in my hometown, and I got them for $5, so I was super stoked, but they really need to be repaired now. Alright, Lolita Lights. Do you listen to Mark Bolan, T-Rex? Why, yes I do. I love them. Definitely one of my favorite groups. And then let's see, do you watch the YouTuber Dandelion April? I think you would love her. And no, I have not, but I just followed her now that you suggested, and I'm super excited to start watching her. She looks super adorable. Who are your celebrity crushes? From Sunshine and Psychedelia. And to be honest, right now I have like no celebrity crushes, not any like modern ones or anything. I love Alice Cooper, also Ray Davies of the Kinks, and obviously George Harrison. Do you see the 60s and 70s coming back into mainstream fashion now or in the future? If yes, do you want that to happen, or do you want it to stay a niche thing? I think that it was coming back for a while, especially when I first got into the 60s and 70s. I kind of felt like there was a revival going on, and I went into Forever 21 and I could find so many like 60s inspired things. I still own some. I love it. If it's gonna come back into mainstream, I don't care. I'm not trying to be like different. If other people think it's cool and like it too, you know, then that's awesome. Then yes, you guys should dress how you want to dress too. Verona says, what is the coolest band you have ever met? And also, that book you were talking about writing, will that come anytime soon, or are you possibly writing it right now? Would love to buy it. And that is so sweet that you actually like, oh my gosh, listen to me, like wow. It's probably going to be more of a later in life thing. I'm hoping to do more of like a journal style, so technically I am writing it every single day because I write in my journal. Oh, and also, what is the coolest band you've ever met? I haven't met really any famous bands or anything like that, so I would say probably the Blackfoot Gypsies, but that's because I totally like wanted to see them even before I knew what they sounded like. I was living in Appleton and they were playing some festival, and I was like just looking at the lineup trying to see if there was anybody that sounded of interest, and I was just searching up each band and listening to a little bit of their music, trying to see if I wanted to make it downtown for any of the shows, and they were on there. I looked them up and I was like, whoa, these guys are cool. And then I went down to the show and it was already done, so I don't know what happened there, but obviously I missed the show. And then crazy things happened and our paths ended up meeting, and yeah, and now I consider them friends. Then we got one from Maple Socks here. What are the best tribute bands? And I'm gonna be super biased and say all my boyfriend's tribute bands, which is Traveling Band for Creedence Clearwater Revival, Beatle-rama for the Beatles, and yeah, those are all the tribute bands that I really know, to be honest. And then Layla, the 60s girl, says, what was your first ever modeling job? And I was trying to think like what this actually was, and I'm gonna go with job, meaning like a paid thing. And so it was actually super recently, and that was with Miracle Eye when I was in LA. When you're first getting into modeling and you're not signed or anything, nobody's just gonna hire you without having like any work. And so I first obviously worked on like taking my own nice pictures on Instagram so that people could see that I was like interested in that kind of a thing, and people knew I was interested in fashion, and you meet people, so you kind of do like volunteer work for them, and you know, they help you build up your portfolio, you help them build up yours, whether that's a photographer or a company or something like that. You know, it takes a lot of free work first before you can get paid for anything, and even then you're probably not getting paid like a ton. You know, it's something fun to do on the side. I like doing it, and I can only just hope that it will continue and I can get better. Favorite outfit? I don't know if I have a favorite outfit because I like all of my outfits the most when I'm wearing them. Like whenever I pick an outfit out that's like a new outfit and I'm like, whoa, this is it. This is like my best work yet. This is it, sis. You know, we're done. We can just, you know, throw in the towel. This is the best it's gonna get. But whenever then I pick a new outfit, I always like that one more. So it just depends on how I'm feeling that day, to be honest. I think any advice for dressing appropriately for a fancy event, say like a wedding, but still sticking to a vintage style? A really cute dress, some nice tights, even if it's like summertime. If it's super fancy event, I try to wear just like nude tights. I feel like it just makes it look a little bit dressier. A little bit of a heel is always nice too. Gemma says, if you could have been at any concert in history, which one would it be? By the way, you're one of my biggest style inspirations. Thank you. If I could be at any concert, is it cheating if I say Woodstock because that's like a bunch of concerts? Because that's probably what I would say. Or just like any of the Beatles ones. And I would definitely be one of those crazy girls like crying. And maybe not even just because of the Beatles. I feel like I'd be crying because of the Beatles, number one. Like, I'd already be in hysteria, but just the fact that everybody else around you is freaking out like that as well, and like crying and fainting, I feel like all of that energy just, you know, builds everything up even more. So I would definitely be one of those crazy girls at the Beatles concerts. Okay, Safety Tess says, if you got to hang out with whatever era Alice Cooper you wanted for a day, what would you do? Oh my gosh. I know he likes golfing, but I don't, so sorry Alice, we're not going golfing. I'd probably want to see if he has like his outfits from when he was touring, or oh my gosh, I would love to check out like all of his stage props, and I would definitely want to put on like a fake concert with him, like me and him, Alice Cooper times Devyn Crimson. We're freaking doing it. We're putting on a show, and probably absolutely nobody would be allowed in, but I just want to be able to say that me and Alice Cooper performed together. Elvin Realm says, how did you make a new vintage inspired outfit every day without running out of clothes and combinations? That is a myth. I definitely am an outfit repeater, and I don't really think that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I try to always come up with new combinations, but I feel like that is pretty unrealistic. You'll see me in a lot of the same things if you pay close attention. How long did you live in Minnesota? I live there right now, and I flipped when I heard you used to live here. I lived there for like a whole summer. I worked in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis. My family actually lives only an hour and a half from the Twin Cities, but in Wisconsin, so we weren't super far away anyways. Do you have a Spotify? I need some killer 60s playlists, and I feel like you'd have some rad recommendations. I do have a Spotify. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it might be Crimson and Clover _, which used to be my username for everything, or I might have changed it to Devyn Crimson. I'm not sure, but if you can't find it, I do have links to it on my blog, which I always link in the description. Otherwise, I just pretty much use Apple Music, actually. So if anybody uses Apple Music, you can find me on there by Devyn Crimson, I believe. Okay, I think this is actually the last question, too. This is from Carly Swain. She says, it seems like a lot of your questions are about your style, which we all love, and not really about you personally, but I'm interested in who you are behind the camera. Are you spiritual? What motivates you? I love your positive vibes, but I know it can be hard to stay positive in harsh times. So if you have any advice on this topic, please share. Thank you. Thanks for asking. That's very cool of you. I would say that I am definitely a spiritual person. I wake up every morning and I try to do yoga every single day and do a little bit of meditating. It might just be like a little short routine, even sometimes just 10 minutes, but you know, that can really help. And I just really notice a huge difference in how I feel that day and how I react to all kinds of situations. I also journal, which I started journaling in high school, and that is also just kind of a nice way to, I don't know, discuss with yourself and mark progress and see how you grow over the years, and a great way also just to look back on memories. So I love journaling personally. What motivates me, I think just like the fact that like this is my life, and I want to do the best that I can do while I'm here and be the best person I can be. That truly motivates me. Just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's my Capricorn moon. I have no idea, but there's just something inside of me that, like, if I go a day and I don't have something to show for it, whether it's like amazing memories that I made or, you know, something that I've done physically, like creating something, it's kind of frustrating and kind of just like disappointing in myself, I feel like, because I want to make the most out of every day. And I think even if it's not like making something or like doing something in that sense, I think memories are important, and I just want to make the most out of every day and get something from every single day. Anyways, let's see, I'm pretty sure there was some more to that question. She says, I love your positive vibes, and I know that it can be hard to stay positive in harsh times. So, if you have any advice on this topic, please share. I would say just taking time to like sit and be quiet for like a little bit, because it can be like so easy just to get caught up in the fast pace of like go, 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 check out this, watch this, listen to this, do this. Like, you need that time just to not. For staying positive, I think when things do get like bad, which they always do, you know, that's life. That's why things even seem good, is because things are bad sometimes. Just remember that this is just a little moment, you know, and maybe it is a bigger moment, but also it's a moment. A moment's a moment, and it's gonna get better. Remember the little things that are good, like even if it is bad, like you've had just like a total shit day, look for the tiniest things to be happy about. Write it down, write down the bad things too. Burn that little piece with the bad things on it if you want. Sometimes I do, sometimes I just rip it out, but it's also nice to look back on and just remember, like, I don't know, just remember those times, and I feel like it makes you appreciate the good times more even. And that's also why I like journaling good times, because if I am feeling upset, then I like to go back and read over my favorite memories and look at like favorite little things that I put in my journal, like Polaroids. Like Polaroids or like a guitar pick or something that I took, or like a concert ticket, and you can go back and it kind of takes you back to that day a little bit. So that's something that I really like to do. That was my last question, so thank you guys so much for sitting through this whole thing. If you made it to the end, congratulations. This was a long one. I really enjoyed answering these questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening and getting to know me a little better. Hopefully we can do this sometime again in the future. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I will see you in the next one.